What is up, you guys? Welcome back to my channel. If you're new to my channel, welcome to my channel. In today's video, we will be discussing the matriarch of the Kardashian family, and that is Miss Kris Jenner. Her story is gonna have you guys shook to the core if you don't know her story already. Kris has built not only her career, her daughter's careers, but also her spouse's careers, and she's been doing this for a while. This will probably be the most interesting deep dive of the entire Kardashian family that I've done so far. So I'm not gonna have you guys waiting too long, so without further ado, let's get straight into this video. Kristen Mary Jenner was born November 5th, 1955 to Mary Jo Shannon, who is known today as MJ, and her father, Robert True Houghton. I guess that's where Khloe got her daughter True's name from now that I'm looking at it. And it's also crazy that Kris married a man that had her father's name, and so did Kim. Well, Kim married a man that had her mother's name. Very interesting coincidence. So Kris had two younger siblings. She had a sister named Karen Casey, and later on she had a half-brother named Stephen Shannon. When she was just 7 years old, her mom and dad got divorced, and that caused her and her younger sister to primarily be raised by their mother, Mary Jo. So Mary Jo, who I'm gonna call MJ because that's what people know her as today, she later remarried, and she married a man named Harry Shannon. And Harry helped MJ raise both Kris and Karen. So Harry was a businessman, and at one point during his marriage to MJ, his business partner decided to leave the company and he took all of the capital. So this move by Harry's business partner led the family struggling a bit. This led Kris to begin working in a donut shop along with helping her mother run her business. As I said previously, her mother had a clothing store named Shannon & Company. Kris said this exact business is what helped her to be able to conduct her future daughter's businesses later on in her life. So in 1975, Kris Jenner unfortunately lost her biological father. She was just 19 years old and her father died in a car crash. 4 years later, she began working as a flight attendant for American Airlines, and this was where she met her husband, well, future husband, Robert Kardashian. And if you're curious, Kris was only a flight attendant for a year because Kris secured herself a successful lawyer. And like I said, Robert Kardashian was in fact her future husband and the father of her first 4 eldest children. I just realized I said first and eldest as if they don't mean the same thing, but whatever. So now let's get into the messiness of Miss Kris Jenner, and there's quite a lot to say. As I stated previously, Kris's first marriage was to Robert Kardashian, and as we all know, he later became widely known for his early legal representation of O.J. Simpson. The pair got married on July 8th, 1978. They share 4 children together. Kourtney was born in 1979. Then we have Kimberly. Kimberly was born in 1980. Then they had their daughter Khloe. Khloe was born in 1984. And they lastly had their son Robert Kardashian Jr., who was born in 1987. During her marriage to Robert, Kris admitted to cheating on him in her autobiography that she published later on. So in this autobiography, Dirty Sexy Money, that was released in 2021, Kris admitted to cheating on Robert Kardashian during their marriage to a man named Todd Waterman. Todd was a former soccer player and an animator. So this story, y'all, with Todd gets so freaking messy. Like, please just listen to the details of how Kris was back in the day. So in her autobiography, she referred to Todd as Ryan to not disclose his name. But he did choose to reveal his identity on his own, and that's how we know it's Todd Waterman now. So Kris said that she met Todd back in 1989 during a girls' night out. At this point, she was married to Rob for over 10 years, and they had 4 children together. Kris Jenner clearly has a record of being a cougar because Todd was just 23 at the time, and Kris was 34, making them 11 years apart. So this juicy rendezvous allegedly began in a friend's closet for what was supposed to be a one-night stand. This one-night stand turned into a 2-year relationship where Kris highlighted they would have the most spontaneous and adventurous encounters together. And y'all know what I mean when I say encounters. During this 2-year affair, Kris Jenner was a certified sugar mama, okay? She spent thousands of dollars on this man, dressing him in the nicest clothes, taking him to very exclusive events where people like Michael Jordan were at, and she just overall made sure he was well taken care of. She even introduced Todd to her husband and her children. Yes, she did. Now, the late Robert Kardashian was no fool because he started catching up on Kris and her very sneaky actions when she randomly invited this man over, and it was Todd Waterman, and introduced him as her tennis trainer. Like, you cannot tell me this woman is not vicious. Like, oh my God. Mr. Robert Kardashian was not feeling it, so he decided to hire a private investigator to follow Kris around and to find out whether or not she was cheating. And he definitely found out whether she was or was not cheating. Robert caught Kris and Todd 3 times and confronted them on separate occasions. Robert kept a private diary at the time that this was all happening, and there was excerpts in the book Dirty Sexy Money of him venting about Kris cheating on him, and he said this in quote, "Todd drove up to the back gate and parked. He went into the house and slept in my bed. Khloe and Robert were in the house. Closer to Christmas Day, she doesn't care." So this woman was with him during the holidays and just being extra messy. And now Kris's children with Rob, her 4 oldest children, see Todd as the reason for their parents' divorce. Kris's oldest daughter, Kourtney Kardashian, went on to get therapy due to running into Todd again. You can actually see in the episode when Todd came back around, and this really impacted Kourtney, bringing up her childhood trauma, so she went to go get therapy. Another cheating allegation, but it's not necessarily cheating, but shows the amount of messiness that was going on during Kris's early years, is that Robert Kardashian and Kris Jenner were swingers. So this is all alleged, these are just rumors, but it is thought that Kris Jenner, Robert Kardashian, O.J. Simpson, and Nicole Simpson were all swinging together. And I'm trying to be as respectful as possible because Nicole Simpson was, of course, murdered later on in her life, and my deepest condolences go to her and her family. But people believe that they were swinging, and their swinging was a product of Khloe Kardashian being made. And it's believed that Robert Kardashian openly knows that Khloe is not his daughter, but due to the way that Khloe was conceived, he claimed her as her own and had no issue with it. That is a conspiracy theory of no other, okay? And it's also thought that Kris was not cheating on Robert with just Todd. They also believe that she was dealing with her hairstylist, Alex Roldan, and that's how Khloe was born. Now, it all circles back to Khloe because everybody thinks that Khloe looks very different than the other biological children that Kris and Rob share together. Now, we all should know that genetics is a funky game, but we have to be honest that the resemblance between, especially to me, Alex Roldan and Khloe Kardashian is almost uncanny. So guys, I also want to add another partner that Kris Jenner had prior to meeting Robert Kardashian. This component of Kris Jenner's life is a little bit more discreet due to the implications that comes with it, but Kris Jenner was just 17 years old when she began dating the professional golfer Cesar Sonato. At the time, Cesar was 28 years old, making him more than a decade older than Kris Jenner, who just recently graduated from high school. So the two are said to have met at the Hawaiian Open in 1973, but according to Cesar's daughter Amber, she says that her father had no idea that he was dating Kris when she was just a teenager. Amber says according to her father, Kris Jenner said that she was 21 at the time of meeting him when she was only 17. He also told his daughter that Kris would lie about details in her life, like where she came from or who her father really was. Also, according to Cesar's daughter, Kris was being groomed at home. Amber says this in quote, "She wanted to be mature and be a golf groupie and try to find a man who had money. That whole thing of just climb the ladder, try to find somebody who was going to get her where she needed to be, wherever that was." Now, this doesn't seem too far-fetched because if you guys remember me previously saying, Kris Jenner and her family were struggling, so maybe this was Kris's ticket out of the struggle. But Kris would travel the world with Cesar, and by the next year, she would follow him on tour. Then soon after she turned 19, Cesar allegedly popped the question, and Kris said yes. And this was around the time that Kris also met Robert Kardashian. But allegedly, Kris just favored Cesar over Robert, and they even almost got married in Great Britain during the 1975 opening. But get this, Kris was allegedly cheating on Cesar with Robert, even allegedly caught her in the bed with him. In one of Kris's past memoirs, she says that her and Robert were messing around and heading in the direction of some major hanky-panky. And she says that's when Cesar arrived home, who she labeled as Anthony in the book. Kris says in quote, "Thank God we had our clothes on." But that was apparently untrue, at least according to one of Caesar's old friends named Jack Sprodlin. He says that Caesar was very clear in his version of events, telling all of his friends that he was out of town and came home and caught Kris and Robert in bed together. Caesar's daughter Amber also alleges that Kris stole some things from her father when he kicked her to the curb because she was cheating. Amber says this in quote, "My dad had gold bullion, gold coins, and one day, a couple of weeks after Kris left, my dad went to look for them and they were gone. Sometime later, he said he had run into Kris's mom and he saw that she was wearing a bracelet that had 3 gold coins on it. And my dad thought they were from his collection." Now, this just might be the classic case of you lose them how you get them, but Robert was eventually set free from Kris's web of lies, and she soon found another victim. Let's get back into the video. Robert eventually moved out, and I hope it's because he knew his worth, and they divorced. And not even a month later, after the divorce was finalized, Kris Jenner started dating somebody new, and she got married to that man not even 6 months later, 5 months to be exact. And that man that came right after her relationship with Robert was none other than Bruce Jenner, now known as Caitlyn Jenner. So I'm going to be using the name Bruce Jenner in this video because that is the time frame we're talking about. And Caitlyn Jenner today also said that she does not want us to just kill Bruce because Bruce was somebody important at one point in their lives. So Kris and Bruce later went to share 2 children together. They share Kendall Jenner, that was born in 1995, and Kylie Jenner, that was born in 1997. Now let's get into the business mindset that Kris Jenner has. We all know it started off when she was helping her mom run that clothing store that her mother owned, but it really launched when it got into entertainment and basically the entire celebrity culture, starting off with Bruce Jenner. So many people believe that Kris Jenner was just a social climber and she was always dating someone or marrying someone that had a lot of notoriety so that she could get to the top. But believe it or not, that doesn't seem to be true at all about Kris. When Kris married Bruce Jenner, he was not as wealthy as people may think that he was at the time. Yes, he was in fact an Olympic winner, but he won the Olympics a long time ago before meeting Kris. Bruce got his gold medal back in 1976 and he met Kris 15 years later, so that reign kind of died down. When they got together, Bruce and Kris both had 4 children from prior relationships. So in total, they had 8 children to support, and that meant they were going to need a lot more money. With Bruce's previous successes, Kris Jenner made an effort to use that previous stardom to produce more income coming into their household. So she essentially became Bruce's manager. She started having him do lots of public appearances and motivational speeches, and it literally reignited his career. In her book, she stated this in quote, "We took Bruce's gold medal out of his sock drawer and dusted it off and framed it in his office, and that became our motivation. We wanted to be champions again." So like I said, all that money that came from all of his commercials, the product endorsements, and the public speeches started flowing in like crazy. That was Kris's first venture of being the well-known momager she is today. And might I say, the name that she trademarked. Now we're gonna get into her daughter's careers and how she basically built a billion-dollar empire among all her children. And it all starts off with Kim Kardashian's infamous sex tape. So this could go down in 2 different ways. I'm gonna say it from both lenses. So either the sex tape dropped and it was unplanned at dropping and Kris made it into an empire, or Kris planned it. But either way, it was an insane master plan. So why I said it goes 2 ways is because Ray J, the man that was in the infamous sex tape that was created back in 2006, not created in 2006, that came out in 2007. Ray J says that this sex tape was released by the doing of Kris Jenner and Kim Kardashian. Basically saying it was all planned. He showed us contracts, he showed us the background of it. It seems pretty legitimate. But the Kardashians are pretty adamant on they didn't release the tape.
You got 400,000, just like I got 400,000. We signed the contract the same day. You got the same contract I got, except guess what? You rushed me to sign the contract because your mama was rushing me to sign it. So guess what you did? You signed my deliverables in your handwriting, right? Because you was rushing me. So you signed my deliverables. Kim Kardashian got her handwriting and her fingerprints all over my contract. When you look at the 2, when you look at my signature and you look at her signature on my deliverables, that sex tape number 1, sex tape number 2, and guess what? The 3rd sex tape or the 2nd they've been trying to play me on, called Santa Barbara Sex. Her mama made us go shoot it for safety. She watched the mother and said, hey, we're going to go with the first one because the first one is better. It gives my daughter a better look than the second one that I made y'all go do. But you watched it and made a decision. And then you get on whatever show you was on and take a lie detector test with a fraud.
The very first episode of The Kardashians centered around the entire sex tape.
There's this big, hate to say it, but sex tape.
Yes.
That is out of you.
I obviously made it. I need to take responsibility for what I've done. But I have little sisters that I had to explain myself to. I need to try and teach them what not to do.
Not to have sex and tape it.
Essentially, the sex tape launched the reality show, and Kris Jenner was the initial person in the family that showed any interest in wanting a reality show. She felt that her family had enough drama and interest to be able to have a successful reality show, and I guess she wasn't that far off. She reached out to producer Ryan Seacrest, who already had his own production company, and she shared what I said originally, that her family would be a great fit for reality TV. Ryan Seacrest went on to further develop that idea because he saw shows like The Osbournes that was out at the time being really successful, and he thought that the Kardashians would be a great fit. He hired a cameraman to go visit the Kardashian family home during a barbecue, and he found them to be very crazy, fun, yet loving, and thought they'd be a great fit. And the show got picked up later on in 2007. And it was announced that the Kardashian and Jenner families would star in a yet-to-be-titled reality show on E! And it was described as a new non-scripted family sitcom being produced by Ryan Seacrest and the Boona Murray Productions. And the series announcement came out 1 week after Paris Hilton and Nicole Richie's show, The Simple Life, that was airing on E! Series, was coming to an end. I mean, it's as if Paris Hilton literally patched her torch over to Kim Kardashian. And as we all know, the rest is legit history because the show was on E! Network for 14 years and they later moved to Hulu so they can be the producers of their own show, which I don't know if that was the best move because The Kardashians on Hulu, which is what the show is called, is a bit of a snooze fest according to many fans and supporters. So now let's get into each of her children's careers, which I think is pretty self-explanatory. She literally built empires for each of her children. Kim Kardashian is literally Kim Kardashian. She built her entire family up. She is now a billionaire. She has Skims. She has multiple business ventures, whether they were successful or not. The woman is filthy rich. Then we have Kourtney's blog called Poosh, and she just came out with a multivitamin gummy, I think, called Lemmy. I think it's a multivitamin gummy. I'm almost certain it is. Then you have Khloe with Good American, and I've also seen her with Nurtec. She's always on commercials on Hulu. Robert Kardashian is a lot more private, but he did have a sock line. His sock line is called Arthur George, and it still is running to this day, so it has to be at least a little bit successful. But Robert Kardashian is allegedly worth $10 million, so he can't be doing too bad, okay? Then we have Kendall Jenner, who is a supermodel, and not just any supermodel. She is the highest paid supermodel in the world, and she has held that title for several years. And then Miss Baby Kim Kardashian, Kylie Jenner, who is very close to being a billionaire but has built an empire with makeup with Kylie Cosmetics. Though I have said in previous videos, I don't believe that Kylie Cosmetics and Kylie Jenner is as popular as she and the company once was. That doesn't take away from the fact that this girl is rich as hell and she has built quite the empire. And I think what's most impressive is when it comes to Kendall and Kylie, Kris Jenner built a career for those two literally out of nothing. If we're being completely 100% honest, Kendall and Kylie were not sought after while their sisters were really rising to fame. And if they were sought after in a much smaller demographic. And I would say that demographic would be white teenage girls. And they quickly became these worldwide sensations through Kris Jenner. Once Kendall showed interest in becoming a model, Kris Jenner made it happen. I would say at one point, especially when it comes to Kylie, she was probably the most influential Kardashian. At one point, and I would say back in like 2016, that girl was everywhere. That doesn't take away from all that Kim has done and all that Kris has built for Kim. Kylie definitely had an advantage because she literally did not get it out the mud. I don't think Kim really did either, but she did a bit more when it comes to becoming a socialite. But Kylie had Kim as a platform and the show as a platform, and her mother, who literally works to make sure her kids are all good. So that's probably why she was so influential, I would say, in 2016, whereas Kim had to kind of build up off of not having social media. Later on in her career, there was social media, so that helped her a lot too to maintain where she is now. But yeah, I will have to give it to Kylie. I think she was very influential at one point, especially when it came to the lips thing. And when it comes to Kendall, when Kendall said she was interested in becoming a model, Kris made it happen. She made sure to get the right connections, and she got Kendall on that runway almost immediately, having her be with some of the biggest fashion names in the world 2 to 3 years later. People say that Kris pimps her kids out, especially when it comes to her allegedly favoring whichever child is making her the most money. The girls have said that that's how their mother bases their love, and that Kylie has been the favorite for a few years now because she has made her the most money. Now, I don't agree with that logic. I think it's kind of messed up, but if we're being real, morals keeps you from being filthy rich. So this is the finished makeup look. I will be sure to tag everything down below. I forgot to do it last time, but I will this time around, I promise. I gotta get better at remembering to put stuff in my description box. So alright, you guys, that is the end of this video, and the end of talking about Kris Jenner and where she came from and how her story impacted her daughter's future careers. If you guys liked this video, do not forget to like, comment, subscribe, and share. Comment down below your thoughts on Kris Jenner and some of the tea that I spilled on her, whether you guys knew the tea or didn't. What are your thoughts when it comes to Kris Jenner and how she came about? I love and I appreciate you guys so very much. Thank you so much again for watching, and I will see you all in my next video. Love you guys. Bye. Mwah.